Hello and welcome back to Record of the Year, the podcast where I talk about whatever album I'm obsessed with that week and just shout my opinions into the void because frankly none of my friends want to hear it. I am your host Ryan Lark, and before we get into this week's Record of the Year, I want to do some updates actually, first ever updates. Beth Burden herself actually reached out to me personally on the Instagram and gave me a little bit some updates and corrections, I guess is a better word, of what I said in the past, this past week about her album Worthy. Um, so, if you remember, to kind of going back, her song Parole, she talked about how it was actually written after she watched Shawshank Redemption for the 100th time. Apparently, it's not based off of her own experience with the prison system, but based off the movie and her love for it. And she said, and I quote, it's really about how we make our own prison for ourselves through having guilt or regrets. Parole is about letting yourself off the hook, not literally getting out of prison, but figuratively. So I really appreciate it. And that was honestly, I was like so excited when she reached out. It was so cool. Thank you if you're listening to this episode. Thank you again for reaching out. That was so cool and awesome to hear. She also said that the background vocals were Jessie Pennington, not herself. I think I said it sounded maybe vaguely like it was herself recorded over the lead vocals, but it is not. It is Jessie Pennington. So anyways, moving back on to this week's Record of the Year, we are continuing the month-long segment of dedicating the month of May to all of the local Kentucky artists that I wanted to feature. This is week 2, and this week's Record of the Year is Little Girls Actin' Like Men by the local Honeys. This is an incredible local Kentucky group. They're more Appalachian folk music, and a little bit of background on them. It is a folk duo. It actually started out with kind of the band members have changed over time, but the current folk duo is Montana Hobbs and Linda Jean Stokely, and they're kind of they are singer-songwriters, both of them, and they often kind of take on protest songs, and they've been quoted as saying that their mission is to sing about suffering, and particularly the suffering of Appalachian folks, because that's their background, but they're kind of partial to the classics as well. There's a lot of traditional folk music, traditional Appalachian music on this album that is featured quite prominently. A little bit more about them. They've toured internationally and are quite popular actually in the United Kingdom. They've opened for Coulter Wall and Tyler Childers, who is also a local Kentucky artist, and they've recently signed with La Honda Records. A little bit about this album specifically. It is their debut folk Appalachian album. It was released in 2017. It's got 12 tracks and it's 43 minutes long. And a little exciting, kind of interesting thing. The first track in the album, Cigarette Trees, won the Chris Austin Songwriting Contest, which is a national award, the songwriting contest, obviously, which is really cool. And it's a really interesting song, probably my favorite on the album. So anyways, before we get into it, I just want to remind you to go ahead and listen to the album beforehand, or if you'd like to, listen along track by track as I go along, and that way you'll actually know what I'm talking about. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Insert guitar transition noise here. Oh, hello. Now, when I say the words waves, heavy, boat, ship, what word comes to mind? That's right, it's anchor. And what do all those have to do with anchor? Well, absolutely nothing. But what does have to do with anchor is podcast, free, creation. Those are the words that come to mind when I think about an anchor, because Anchor is a free app that lets you download and start your own podcast if you ever want to. It's the easiest way to make a podcast, and I'll explain. There's easy creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor then will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other site you want. You can then make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, which is great for me because I have no listeners. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one single place. That's right. No need to go get an editing software, nothing like that. It's all in one place. It's perfect, easy to use, so go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. See you there. Insert guitar transition here. The first track on the album is called Cigarette Trees, and it was written by Linda Jean Stokely, one of the two of the duo. And it's all about the injustices and atrocities that happen within the coal industry and that the coal industry puts on to the communities in Appalachia specifically. It talks about poor wages, mountaintop removal, addiction problems, and drinking issues that happen as a result of experiencing all that. And it's just got really powerful lyrics. I think this is such an important song and is so worthy of all of the accolades it's been given, including the Chris Austin Award. It's a really, I don't know why, but I just feel like it's such a slap in the face to America about, and which might not make sense at first, but then you realize like using Appalachian music to speak out about the injustice of coal mining is so profound, because people always think that Appalachian people like coal, but that's really not necessarily true. And this song really highlights some of the atrocities that they experience. And it's not like that everyone's just waving their hand being like, oh, I don't care about that. I don't care that my water's black. I don't care that all these issues are happening, that my father died from black lung because he's been working in the coal mine, that people are going out of losing jobs because the coal industry is dying and being more mechanized. And I think this is the pinnacle, or maybe not the pinnacle, but it's a really good example of protest songs. This is, I mean, you want to talk about using your talent to send a strong message, and a strong message that you believe in, a powerful message that can reach a lot of people. Music's the medium to get messages out, and I think they're doing such a good job. This is such a cool song, such an incredible song. I think it's a great choice to put it first because it's obviously something they really believe in. I think they got great harmonies on the song. I think they sound great. It's obviously got that strong folky Appalachian feel. It's a really cool melody. I don't know. I just really like it, obviously. I can't really say too much other than talking about the message, honestly, because everything's so great. I'm going to give it a 10 for songwriting, and for recording, I'm going to give it a 9. The second track on the album is called The Junk Man, and it was written by Don Rogers. I'm not sure their relation to them, maybe just a friend or a fellow songwriter that wrote for them, but it's all about how a junk man benefits off of the people suffering, and it's kind of an overall metaphor for the type of person that benefits off of people suffering, and it's got several references to the recession and stuff like that, but it's basically that person that kind of takes advantage of when someone's down to get ahead, kind of. Which is, again, a really powerful message and a very interesting one, told in a really interesting way, honestly. I don't know why this sticks out to me, but the intro, I just really like. I think it's so cool. It's kind of got this weird, when you first hear it, you're like, what is this? And then you hear them count off and get into the actual song, but I don't know, I just really liked it. It was just a fun little stylistic choice to include that in the song instead of just going straight into the song, which I really enjoyed. But other than that, I think I really like the lyrics. Obviously, I think the lyrics in a lot of these songs, well, the songs that they wrote, are really profound and really impactful and incredible. The melody, the melody's not overly complicated, but it's really good, and I like the banjo in it. The instrumentals in all of these songs are very good, exceptional. I don't know, I really like it again. It's probably my second favorite song after Cigarette Trees, honestly, and they're back-to-back, so I don't know, again, another song about suffering told in a really interesting, different way. I can't say anything bad about it. The recording's really good, too. They sound very blunt about it, which I think lends itself very well to this song. They're very blunt. It's not overly embellished. I don't know, and I think that's really important for telling that story in this song. So I'm going to give it a 9 for songwriting and a 9 for recording. The The third track on the album is called The Hills of Mexico, and this was written by Roscoe Holcomb. And it's about a migrant worker's journey to work and longing for home, and kind of just follows that life of the song. And the strong suit in here for me is that melody. I really liked like that banjo pick on it when it starts and kind of follows through with in the melody the whole way through. I don't know. I just really like it. I think it's really cool, and I feel like when you hear of a Mexican migrant worker, you wouldn't think of like banjo, but it really works here, and it's really interesting and really cool. I really like it, but I don't know why. And maybe this is more telling of me than the song itself. Every time I listen to this, I zone out, and I don't know if that's just because I don't connect with the story personally, or what, or maybe because it's such a, I don't know what's the right word, like a timid song almost. That you can like almost that I do zone out frequently during the song, and I kind of have to bring myself back into it. And I don't know I don't know why that is. And again, maybe it's just because I can't connect to it, but I don't know. That takes something away from the song for me, because obviously I'm not kept being interested in one way or another, and for some reason I don't know. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to take a little bit of points away for that. But again, I really like the melody a lot, and the lyrics. I don't think they're especially profound in this song, but I think it tells a story, and it's an interesting story. I don't know. Not my favorite, but I still enjoy the song. So for songwriting, I'm going to give it a 6.5, and for recording, I'm going to give it a 6.5 as well. The fourth track on the album is called Freight Train Blues, and this is a traditional folk song, so don't know the writer. But it is a song all about kind of being tied down to where you are because you're with a partner, but you kind of wish you could leave. And this is such a cool song. I'm not familiar with really almost any of these traditional folk songs, but this rendition of it, or this arrangement of it, is so fun and so cool. Just got like such powerful dynamics. You're kind of like listening to it, and then all of a sudden I don't know, it's not a yodel, but it's like where she goes, you'll know what I'm talking about when you listen to it, where she just like starts like not shouting but like belting all of a sudden. You're like, whoa. And if you were like not in it before, you really wake up. It's so it's so fun. It's so fun and cool. And really interesting, because when she kind of belts that note, it you vaguely like subconsciously picture like a freight train horn almost, like choo choo, and it's really cool. I don't know. I really like it. I think it's so interesting, and I think it's such an interesting choice for this album. And they sound great on it. I really like it. They do a really good job with this. So as far as I don't. I guess I need to decide what I'm going to do for songs that they didn't write, but obviously they made an arrangement of it and they played it. I don't know. I'll just have to like give it the same weight, because it's going to be complicated if I don't do anything other than that. So I'm just going to give it for songwriting, or for arranging, that is. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 7, and then for recording, I'm gonna give it an 8. The fifth track on the album is called "Sweet Sunny South and Brushy Fork of Johns Creek," and this is a traditional song as well, and it is an instrumental song. So honestly, I'm not good at. Not that I'm good at any of this, but I am not going to touch this and like evaluate it, because I don't know how to go about that when I've done everything else based on different criteria. This whole album is just kind of like a weird thing for me to review because I'm not used to reviewing stuff like this, but I'm just not going to include it. But the song is in memoriam of the late Lewis County fiddler Buddy Thomas. Lewis County is just a county in Kentucky. I really love the dueling fiddles on this song. They sound so good, like especially in the beginning. And it almost sounds like the song changes to a different song about like a third of the way through almost. It's really cool and it keeps you interested and captivated the whole time. You don't really mind that it's got no lyrics to it. It's just all feel, which I guess is some kind of the appeal of instrumental. I guess it's just all raw emotion without any like the cloudiness of lyrics or words. And I like that it was placed kind of halfway through in between all the tracks. It's or about halfway. It's just really good placement. It kind of breaks up the album nicely. Yeah, the banjo in the background is really cool. Love those dueling fiddles the whole time. Yeah, I just really enjoyed the song. Definitely not a skip on the album. Listen to it. Even though it's long, it doesn't matter. It goes by really quickly. But yeah. The sixth track on the album is called Hares on the Mountain. This is also a traditional folk song. And it's all about young love. It's kind of that, not call and response, but it has that same, I don't even know what you call it. Man, I cannot think today for some reason. It's got that, it repeats the first line twice and then the second line once and then goes on to the next stanza. But, it's just such a fun song. It's one of the popular ones on the album, I'd say. I think it's probably their second most popular song, period. And it's really interesting. I really like it. It's kind of got like a mellow feel to it. And I really like their harmonies in this song. It's kind of like wailing, like two women wailing, but not in like a super sorrowful way. It's just very like mourning, like I don't know, like a loss of innocence maybe. I don't know. It just talks. It's from like a female point of view towards men and like growing up and kind of like losing the innocence almost. I don't know. I've really tried to like dissect this song and I really have trouble understanding the message behind it. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's not more complicated. It's more complicated than I'm trying to make it. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's a great song. As far as the arrangement goes, I'm going to give it, honestly, an 8 for writing. I think they do such a good job with it. And recording, I'm going to give it an 8.5. The eighth track on the album is called My Old Kentucky Home. Um, Obviously, this is not their song. It's also, it's not a traditional song either. It's the state song for Kentucky. Um, I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate this either. I don't, I, this is kind of biased, but I just don't like the song My Old Kentucky Home. For some reason, well, not for some reason, it's obviously got really terrible roots. And it's got racist roots. Not that their arrangement is racist, but the song itself originally was. And it just rubs me the wrong way, so I don't really love it. Plus, I just think it's a really shit melody. Not my favorite. I get why they included it, because they're very prideful of their state, but I don't love it. I think they sound good on it. If I'm gonna listen to any version, this was turned on, I wouldn't turn it off. It's one of the better versions. I just don't love the song. I just don't. I don't know. Sue me, whatever. I don't know. I feel so bad because like rating this songwriting because I mean they don't. I don't even know how to do. I'm not gonna give it a rating for songwriting because they didn't write it. But for recording, I'm gonna give them. As far as recording goes, I'm going to give them a 6.5. I'm sorry, maybe that's not fair, but I just don't like the song. Actually, and going back, I think the fair way to do this is to not give the traditional songs and the songs they didn't write a rating, and then only rate the songwriting of the songs they did write. I'm still gonna include the ratings of the recording of the songs though. The eighth track on the album is the title track called Little Girls Actin' Like Men, and it was written by Montana Hobbs, one of the two in the duo. And it's all about tomboys who get told by people that they shouldn't act a certain way, or they should act a certain way that, I don't know, it's kind of all about like tomboys and like growing up, basically as a tomboy. It's a very interesting song. It's not one that's told very often. There are some tracks about it that are pretty well known, but I think it's a fairly interesting and different take, and I really like it. I think it's kind of like a waltzy tempo, slowed down a little bit. It's interesting. I think they both sound very good on it with the harmonies. I think the harmonies obviously throughout this whole thing are a very strong point in their group, but I like the like high notes, the higher octave in the background as the background vocals. I think it sounds very good. Adds an interesting like feel to it where it's like kind of that lower register or like almost like a tenor soprano, not tenor alto vocals where it's a little lower and like more calm of a song, and then you got that higher register in like just behind it that you can still hear, but it's not overpowering it, and it's kind of like it's like the little girl, like you can hear the older, like it's like the older person reflecting on the younger, and the reflection is the softer voice behind them, which I think gives a nice feel to it. But anyways, I really like the melody here. Uh, I don't know why I feel like the song is missing something. I think it's almost too stripped down. I probably would have liked, I don't know, maybe a fiddle in the background as well. I don't know. I just for some reason feel like there's something missing in the song. I still enjoy it, but I don't know why I feel that way. But as far as songwriting goes, I'm gonna give it a 7, and for recording, I'm gonna give it a 7 as well. The ninth track on the album is called Walk Around My Bedside, and this is another traditional song. And it's all about wanting Jesus to be with you in times of trouble and wanting Him to be there to help you through those times. I think it's such a. I don't. Okay. So I'm not a particularly religious person, but I think this is such a cool song. It's not vocals forward. It's the vocals are on an even level with the instruments here, which is so cool. And something you don't really see a lot, especially in like popular music. Um, I really like it. It's like the vocals really meld with the violins and fiddles here, to make such a cool feeling for the song. I don't know. I think that's just such an interesting way to do it. Not that I've heard this song at all before this, but I don't know if that's how it's traditionally done, but I really like it either way. Uh, yeah, I'm not going to do rate the recording, or rate the writing, but the recording I'm going to give the recording an 8. I think they sound really good. I love the grittiness of the fiddles playing, and then their vocals matching and then being slightly off at some points, but it doesn't sound wrong. It sounds just like striking, which is really cool. But yeah, so I'm definitely going to give it an 8. The 10th track on the album is called The Babyville Bomber, and no, it is not about an actual bomber. It's about a bombshell. And it's a story about a prostitute and her life, and it's kind of like a positive take on that. It's not like a negative, like, oh, that whore. It's like, no, it's about a women empowerment as a prostitute. I don't know, I just really love the song. I don't Every time I listen to it, it just brings like a smile to my face. I think it's so like not goofy, but I don't know. I just think it's such a fun, cheeky song. Love the banjo in the intro. Such a cool picking. Um, really exciting, really interesting. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's such an interesting, fun story about uh, told in a way that is finally not negative. Like, finally, it's about women empowerment and in a way that's respectful um, and interesting. I don't know. I just really like it, and I think they're having fun singing it for some reason. I don't know. You can just tell. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it was also written by Montana Hobbs. But yeah, as far as songwriting goes, I love the melody, love the instrumentals, love the lyrics. So I'm gonna give it a, mm, I'm gonna give it a 9. And then for recording, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. The 11th track on the album is called "I Love You, Charlene" and was written by Linda Jean Stokely, one of the duo, and it's about the death of Linda's father when she was a young girl. I read that, but that is not what I gleaned from the song listening to it. When I listened to it, it sounded more like about watching the abuse of someone, watching an abuser not abuse you, but abuse someone you love. Um, I don't know why that is that I got that. And then I read that it was about the death of her father when she was young, and I don't know why. I still don't understand it, but if you figure it out, please let me know. Um, I still love this song. I think it's such a different flavor that this song adds to the album that the other songs didn't really give. Um, I think it's very interesting and very mournful. Obviously, very mournful. Whether that's about the death of her father or not, I don't know. But it is definitely very mournful and somber. And the way she sings it is just so beautiful. Um, the way she sings the name Charlene, I think, is just so beautiful. I just really enjoy it. I don't know. I think the melody is simple but very effective and very beautiful. I think the lyrics are pretty very poetic. They're straightforward and tell a story, but in a way they're also very poetic. I don't know. I just really like it. So as far as songwriting goes, I think I'm gonna give it an 8.5, and for recording is 7.5. The last track on the album, track 12, is called Gloryland, and this is another traditional song about the passing of someone onto something better, in this case, heaven, most likely. Um, and it's kind of about like the communal side of everyone getting together when someone passes as well. I think it's I think it's a very pretty song. Not my favorite to end the album. I just, again, I'm not a religious person, so I don't really connect with this kind of stuff. But I just, I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. I think it's a little too slow. I think it's a little too repetitive. But I think it's very pretty. I don't know. I just think it's fine. I think it's fine. Not my favorite. Don't love it, but I think it's good for what it is. I think they do a good job with it, and obviously they connect with it and value it. So I don't know. I'm not gonna do the writing again, obviously, but for recording, I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Looking at the overall album, I'd say the strong suit here is the harmonies. I think they've got an incredible gift to harmonize, and it sounds so good, and they know how to do it perfectly. Where it's not constantly, it's just very emphasized in certain ways that is very tactful. Um, Overall, the album's got a lot of grit, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think there's a lot of most albums, especially in the country folk Appalachian region, miss the have that grit missing because they're overly produced, they're overly polished, and songs that are rough, about suffering, need a little grit to feel real and to connect with people. And I think they do that so well here. And every time have every song they do have that, and I think they just have it's just something that makes them special and stand out. I like the idea of having a lot of Appalachian like traditional folk songs, but I really would have liked to have seen more original stuff. I think their original stuff is so exceptional. I think they're obviously a very talented writer, and they're really strong writers. And I mean, I love almost every single track that they wrote on this album. Like, I Love You, Charlene, I think it's incredible. Babyville Bombers, amazing. Um, I think, what is it called? Junkman and Cigarette Trees obviously are standouts for me. But I don't know, I really liked it, and I would love to see more. They do have a second album that I didn't review this week, obviously, but I'm going to have to listen to that more and look into if they wrote more on that album because uh, I don't know. I would just want to hear more of their songwriting as well. I obviously get that they are in their first debut album. They want to feature not just themselves, but also the music that they enjoy and that they grew up with and live with. So, including those traditional tracks is very important. Including My Old Kentucky Home, I guess, is important to them. I don't particularly like it. I love that they included Sweet Sunny South and Brushy Fork of Johns Creek, the instrumental track that is. Um, I think it was for a great message. I think it breaks up that album very nicely. Like I said before, um, I just, I really like that they started with Cigarette Trees. I think that was a very smart um, to put your strong foot forward immediately and talk about and be like, hey, I know that this is like a Appalachian folk album, but this isn't what you're gonna think it is. Like as soon as you hear that first track, you're like, oh, these are like Appalachian women, like strong Appalachian women, but they aren't like the stereotypes. Like they are very strong-willed. They think for themselves. They have a different opinion than what the media portrays, and this is what we're about. I think that was very smart. They definitely accomplished their mission to sing about suffering. They talk a lot about it in the Junk Band, Freight Train Blues, Cigarette Trees, obviously. I Love You, Charlene, Glory Land, all those tracks. I think they do a really good job. I don't know about the order. You know, I always pick apart the order of tracks, and I'm always really interested. So I don't know. I think obviously it makes sense to start with Cigarette Trees. I think it makes sense to end with Glory Land, even though I don't love that track. Um, I think it makes sense to put Sunny South in the middle. I don't know. I almost I don't know if this is smart, but I would almost make sense. And they sort of did this. Put all of their original tracks in the beginning, and then traditional ones at the on the second half after the instrumental. And they did that kind of. All of the instrumental or all of the traditionals are after the instrumental, but there's also some original ones peppered in there as well. So I don't know. Um, I don't know. I just don't understand it. I don't think it tells a specific story, but I think there's obviously a common thread and theme here with strong Appalachian stories and messages and traditions here, which I think is a good message to take with you after listening to this, and you really get a feel for who they are. That is very clear when listening to this album. You really know who these artists are and what they are all about. And they've got a point of view which is not as common as you might think in the music industry. They've really got something to say, and that is so special. So kudos to you, local honeys. Yeah. So enough rambling. As far as the overall score goes, I'm gonna give it a 7.5, and that comes out. Okay, so totaling all of the songwriting scores, um, that comes out to, well, that's only a few of them. So for songwriting, it averages out to 8.3. and for recording, it averages out to 7.72. And adding all those up, including the 7.5 score, composite score is 23.56, which unfortunately does not beat out the reigning record of the year, Crimes of Passion by Pat Benatar, which is an incredible album. But valiant effort, Local Honeys. This is an incredible album. I really enjoyed it. I love this album. Yeah. I really encourage you guys to go back and listen to the album. And further, I encourage you to go to thelocalhoneys.com and purchase their album. That really helps out the artist. I really want to encourage you to go buy it and help out. And encourage you to go out and buy Worthy by Beth Burden as well. She's an incredible performer, incredible musician, and helping out local artists. I know I always rant about how it's important to support artists by purchasing their music, not just streaming, but it's true. It really helps them out so much more to purchase it than stream it, because streaming contributes almost no money to their pockets, realistically. But anyways, I'd love to hear your opinions about whatever I'm talking about. This is only week 2, and I'm sure a lot of you probably haven't heard of these albums before. So if you have any interesting opinions on these albums or any insight on these artists, please reach out on Record of the Year podcast on Instagram. That is year without the Y. And just let me know what you're thinking about these albums and about these artists. And if I think I have all of the artists lined up for the month of May, except for one. I need to decide who I want to do for the last week. But yeah, if you have someone that you think I should do that's a local Kentucky artist that's not like won Grammys, please let me know. I'd be interested in looking into it. Other than that, please leave me a 5-star review. Only 5 stars on the Apple Podcast app. I would really appreciate that. That would really help me out a lot, because apparently that matters. So yeah, please leave me a 5-star review. Please reach out on Instagram. Go ahead and follow me there at Record of the Year. Again, that's Record of the Year on Instagram. Follow me there, like the posts, interact with me if you want, DM me or comment on the posts. But yeah, until then, I'm excited for next week. I think you guys are really going to like next week's artists a lot. And again, please go back and support these artists. And in the meantime, I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.